boxing fans here in Manchester. We've just seen Leigh Wood for the second time pick up his world title. Just talk to me about that performance. Talk to me about the night, man.
Look, unbelievable night, great atmosphere out there. Leigh Wood, all respect to him because he did what most people thought he was mad for suggesting he'd go back straight in there with Mauricio Lara after that fight in February. But he knew what he had to do. You know, he won many of the rounds, most of the rounds in that fight in February. He knew he just had to keep that concentration and he could box his way through. But there was always that danger that Mauricio Lara would do what happened in February tonight, especially with that extra weight as well. But you know, tremendous performance from him, and so proud of him to become a two-time champion of the world.
Obviously, we just had the press conference, a lot of quotes in regards to the Warrington fight. They've talked about it in the ring. I do want to move on to the rest of the card because it hasn't been discussed much. But Jack Catterall, great debut for Matchroom. Great crowd for Jack Catterall, actually.
Great crowd for Jack Catterall. That's why we were so excited by the opportunity for to sign him, because he showed that he deserves to be at the top level. In that Josh Taylor fight, didn't get the win unfortunately, but deserved it. And you know, for us, it was a no-brainer to sign Jack Catterall when the opportunity came up. And I'm happy for him tonight because he's had a long time out of the ring and he needed a real fight. And in Darragh Foley, you had someone who came forward the whole time. He didn't come here to lose. He came here to fight and win. But Jack Catterall, tremendous performance from him. And now the key is building that momentum, keeping things going, because he's had such big gaps that it's been hard for him to build anything. But we saw tonight, like you say, great crowd for him, great turnout, and I think we got something massive here in Manchester, and some big fights to be made, and exciting times in that division as well at 140.
I know we've been covering this fight, but there has been other fights going on, and more in your reaction, even though we haven't seen the fights. Okolie losing his belts to Billam-Smith, I think that was one of the shocks that a lot of people are talking about tonight. Well, in your eyes, you've obviously worked with Chris before. Do you believe that is a shock?
I actually thought Chris would win. I did say, I think Lawrence has boxed at a higher level before this, but Chris has shown, over his last few fights that he will literally give it everything in there and go to war every time. And it was a tremendous win for him, and he deserves it as well. He works so hard and he's such a nice guy. There's not many people who deserve it more than him, so I'm very happy for Chris Billam-Smith. Lovely bloke, new world champion. I saw parts of the fight. I didn't see it all, so I can't give you too much detail of my thoughts on that fight. But it was good to see someone like that who worked so hard and a nice guy get the win.
Michael Conlan getting stopped in the fifth. We were watching that in between, and it was an uppercut that I hit, and it looked quite bad, to be honest with you. But obviously not watched it on TV or not heard anything. But what do you make of that one? Because a lot of people were expecting him to beat Lopez and possibly a Leigh Wood Conlan fight again. What did you make of that one? Look,
it's a shame because it would have been great to make these big fights, with Leigh Wood, Conlan, Josh Warrington. I saw it actually looked quite similar to the shot that he got stopped with against Leigh Wood. And Lopez is a great fighter. We all saw what he did when he came over. It was a close fight with Josh Warrington, but he did tremendously well. He's not fazed by the fact of travelling to someone's backyard. But it's a shame for Michael Conlan because, like I say, there was some. It doesn't take away from the fact there's still big opportunities and big fights to be made. I wonder what he's going to decide to do now. But looked like a tremendous atmosphere in there. He has a great following, Michael Conlan. But I'm sure he'll take some time now and decide what he wants to do.
Final two from myself. Eddie Hearn's been talking this week, a lot of interviews, and he's talked about the AJ White fight, saying August 12th is the date. Now we know that August 12th is also going to be Dubois Usyk, so it is going to be that you guys are going to be going on the same night as Usyk Dubois.
Yeah, it's worked to be, we're still working through some details. I've been speaking to Alex Krassyuk as well, because there's no broadcast partners for that show as well yet. They won the bid to do it in Poland, I think in Warsaw.
Yeah.
So let's see. There's lots of discussions to be had, and we'll see over the next few weeks how things play out on that front.
Final one, obviously the whole Tyson Fury AJ thing's back again. I don't know, for probably the 10th time. But George Warren's in an interview with Queensberry saying we've sent over a formal offer, not a contract, but a formal offer. I think that might be in the form of an email. Firstly, have you seen that? Secondly, can you give us some information on that?
I've seen an email. Look, I think there's been so much talking about all these fights over the years. There's so many great fights to be made in the heavyweight division. let's see, we did a lot of work back in September time of last year to try and make the Joshua Fury fight happen. We have a good relationship, obviously, with George Warren. So let's see how things play out. It's early days, very early days though. Nothing, you know. Tyson obviously said he'd sent a contract. Wasn't really a contract, but you know, it's good that the big fights are being spoken about. It's a massive fight if it can happen, but there's lots of massive fights being spoken about in that division. You know, we've obviously still got the talks about Usyk Fury as well, and AJ against Wilder. You know, so if any of these fights happen, I'll be delighted.
Cool. Frank Smith, it is nearly 2 a.m, so I'm going to go and you're going to go.
Am I allowed to go?
Yeah, of course you are. Frank Smith, thank you very much.
Cheers,
to Pro Box fans, and I'll catch you at the next one.
Perfect.
So, man, thank you.
Cheers.